Hello guys, welcome to Open Techno. In this video, we're going to look at the two latest presentations from the brand CUKTECH, that brand of batteries and chargers that we've already seen in previous videos. And in this case, they brought us the CP25 and CP12 models, two different models that offer us different possibilities and are priced around 24-25 euros approximately. Two very interesting products that we're going to take a closer look at in this video. First of all, for those of you who aren't familiar with the brand, CUKTECH is a brand that has been making batteries and chargers for over 10 years. They specialize in that and have some very important investors, such as Xiaomi. CUKTECH is a brand synonymous with quality. They have been making batteries for over 10 years, shipping about 150 million batteries and 7 million chargers each year. And in this case, we have products that offer us the quality of, for example, brands like Anker, which are probably more well known at a much lower price. But that's while maintaining or even improving the quality. And with that introduction, let's take a look at the two products. On one hand, we have the CP25 model, which is this 20,000 milliamp hour battery we have here. And then we have the CP12, which is this model here with a capacity of 10,000 milliamp hours. But in this case, it's going to offer us wireless charging through MagSafe for devices like iPhones, or even I think some Pixel phones, since they have this standard. And we're going to start with the CP25, a battery that's about the size of an iPhone 15 Pro Max. As you can see, this is my cell phone and this is the size of the battery. Of course it's a little thicker because it has to have the cells inside, but we can see that it's a super portable battery, which is important for, hey, if we're traveling in a city and we want to charge our phone batteries while carrying it in our hand, well, we don't want the battery to take up more space than the phone. Our capacity is 20,000 milliamp hours. And what does this mean? Well, that an iPhone, for example, the 16, we can charge it more than 3 times. In fact, about 3.5 times? Which would allow us to have autonomy for about 4 or 5 days without needing to plug it in. The design of this battery and of all CUKTECH models seems to me to follow a very minimalist design, very simple, very clean. Here, the front displays that it's the CUKTECH CP25 model and shows the battery capacity. On the top, we have 2 USB ports. One is USB-C, the other is USB-A, and of course we have an integrated cable that gives us another USB-C. What does this allow us to do? Well, really, it means we can, for example, go on a trip without having to carry a USB-C cable in our pocket. The battery itself already has it integrated natively. This USB-C cable is going to be about 15 centimeters long and is made of a rubbery material. It also has a small safety latch to keep it secure in your backpack, preventing the cable from coming loose and dangling. This cable is not removable, so it always has to stay here. And then, as I mentioned, we have 2 other ports, USB-C and USB-A, so in total 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A. On the back, we find a button that shows us the remaining battery, the percentage of battery we have left, the rest of the battery. Completely clean, and just to point out that on the back, it tells us that this battery has a capacity of about 74 watt-hours, which makes it perfectly suitable for traveling on airplanes or using it on commercial flights. Now, this battery gives us 45 watts of power for regular devices, except if we have Xiaomi phones. Xiaomi phones will be able to charge at 55 watts of power. Then, if we want to connect multiple devices, the maximum output power will be 15 watts for each of the ports. That is, if I connect, for example, my iPhone to this cable, an iPad to the USB-A, and a Samsung to the remaining USB-C, we will have 15 watts for each of the ports. Then, a very interesting thing is that this battery is capable of charging, for example, items like my MacBook Pro, which you'll see charges quite quickly at 45 watts. To give you some numbers, this battery is capable of charging 20% of my MacBook every 30 minutes. It's true that this is a bit slower than the original charger, but hey, we have a portable charger that we can take with us, and we're charging several devices at the same time without needing any kind of outlet. For smaller laptops like a MacBook Air, we charge about 45% of the battery in half an hour. This battery can also charge an iPhone 16 roughly 3.5 times. We have a single charge whether we charge my MacBook Pro or an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Like this one I have here, we would charge it about 3 times. Well, of course, the bigger the battery we have in another device, the fewer times we can charge it before it's depleted. Energy from this power bank. I think it's a really interesting battery, and for the 25 euros it costs, if we find a better price, we'll put it below in the description. As always, I think it's a very interesting item to, for example, take with us on a trip. If we're going to the mountains and we want to charge our iPhone, our AirPods, and our Apple Watch, I think it's essential. We'll be able to charge them for about a couple of days. It really doesn't take up any space. As I said, the size is exactly the same as my iPhone 15 Pro. Lastly, I want to say that you can find this battery in this gray color you're seeing in this video, and I think it's also going to be available in white. Now, having said that, let's move on to the CP12, a smaller battery. In this case, we have a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, but it's going to offer us some different things. The main thing it offers is charging through MagSafe, which is this magnetic technology that Apple introduced a few years ago. And it allows us to charge our devices wirelessly, that is, without any kind of cable, just through this magnetic contact we have here, okay? What does this battery provide? The charging power through MagSafe, that is, through this wireless technology, is 7.5 watts. This battery will deliver 22.5 watts via cable. And in the case that we connect 2 devices, the power would be 15 watts. Maximum to be shared between both devices. As for the design of this CP12, we're gonna have the same design I mentioned earlier, very minimalist, very clean. On the front, we simply find the brand name and the battery capacity. We'll also have the same retractable cable as before on the side, but in this case, that's the only difference. The material of this cable is going to be like a braided nylon style, which gives a slightly better sense of quality. Now you'll see that this cable has a small port here where you can attach it so it stays completely fixed. However, this USB-C port is completely useless. That is, if we connect a charger here, it won't charge. The ways to charge with this battery would be first through MagSafe wirelessly on this back part, or directly with this retractable cable, which can be used both to charge another device and to charge the battery itself. And then we would have an additional USB-C that we could use to connect another device, such as for example an iPad, some AirPods, or an Apple Watch. We'll place 2 LEDs on one side. One of them tells us if we are charging correctly with MagSafe. For example, if the phone has moved or is not charging properly, it would indicate it on the left LED and on the right LED. We are going to have the battery status with 3 colors, orange, yellow, and green. In the case of green, it means we are above 60% battery charge. As a curious thing, my MacBook Pro, for example, has actually charged or managed to charge. With these 20 W of power that this battery gives us, of course, we couldn't charge more than 50% of my MacBook Pro's battery. But well, if we need to give it a boost, you should know that it can even work for laptops. So for example, how much does the capacity of this CUKTECH CP12 give us? For example, we could charge my iPhone 15 Pro Max a little over once, and an iPhone 15 about twice. To give you an idea of the size of this CP12 battery, it's a little smaller than my iPhone 12 mini. You'll see that my iPhone 12 mini, which is already a small phone, still has about a finger's width difference in size. What do I mean by this? Above all, this CP12 is a battery made to be carried in your pocket at any time alongside your phone, if our battery doesn't last long or we're traveling. But this battery is extremely portable, with around 10 W, and it's very lightweight. Now, together, I want to say that both batteries, CUKTECH manufactures them with several protection systems against overheating, short circuits, and overvoltage, for example, while we're charging them with our external charger. In short, they are perfectly protected and give us a lot of reliability. I've been using a model from a previous video for a long time, and it works great. These models, the CP25 and CP12, each cost about 24 or 25 euros, making them appealing options for different needs. For example, the CP25 is too large and heavy to carry in a pocket. For example, if we want something more portable for a phone, the CP12 would suffice. And that's it, guys. If you have any questions about these two models, just let us know in the comments as always, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. That said, you'll always find all the information and the best price in the link in the description. If you liked the video, leave a like and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.